Hello, folks. Hello and welcome. Wednesday night, Techthusiasm Live podcast, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I have a little bit of background noise to start as the family settles down for the night, but decided to just go ahead and chill here in the office rather than getting set up downstairs. Probably won't be super long tonight, but who knows? Hey, if people turn out, we're having fun and we're having a good conversation, then sky's the limit, I guess. We'll see. We'll see what's what. Of course, there's been a whole bunch of stuff going on in the Techthusiasm theater lately. So I'll touch on that as much as I can. I know the operative question is probably going to be, is the AVM 90 better than the AVM 70? And I'll give a definitive. I can't answer that yet. I haven't even listened to it, hardly. But I'll cover what's been going on, what I'm doing. I got another little thing actually that I'm planning to change out in the theater room. Talk a little bit about that here tonight. We'll hang out, talk a little bit about the Zappiti news and all that, and some interesting comments and dialogue and conversation out of the video that I had put up, was it Monday night? I think about that. So yeah, lots of things afoot. So as you're coming in, again, welcome. Please hit the like button, sound off, and leave a chat message there. Let me know who's there. Got a bunch of the regulars already sounding off, but yeah, let me know what's going on. What have you been doing in your theater lately? What are you excited for in the hobby? What movies are you watching? TV shows, media, and all that. Say hey to a couple folks. Kevon, Storm Audio Processor. Yeah, I'm not at the Storm level yet. There's a lot of feedback in the AVM 90 posting about, yeah, you should have gone for the Storm. And while I agree, I think Storm looks awesome. I've seen it and heard it and demoed it at shows now, Audio Device Live and stuff. And it certainly has an amazing pedigree to it, at least in terms for me for buying something right now. Going Storm would have represented whatever, probably 2 to 3 times the cost of the 90, and that was just a level of spending I wasn't kind of prepared to put out yet. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe there'll still be an opportunity one way or another to at least maybe do a demo for a little while, do a review and that sort of thing. We'll see what's what. Julius, welcome. Rob, welcome. A bunch of the super channel regulars here. Opal Winfrey, Mr. AVM 90. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with this upgrade. I'll be very happy with this for some time to come. Vincent Taylor, hello. Jack saying, really want a Kaleidoscape now. Cost of entry is still high. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that as well. Kind of some musings on there. Vincent saying, go new Marantz Cinema 50. Awesome. You just added that to your room. Yeah, the new Marantz, well, from last year, a year ago now. All those new Marantz and Denon models, I think, have been doing some good work. They've stepped up the prices, but they've stepped up the offering, quality, build quality, and all that. So some really good stuff there. So yeah, as of now, the room is ready. It's all set. Everything is in there. Everything's hooked up, and I just need to make some time to get down there and do some things. Basically, the subwoofers are in. So both of the SVS subwoofers were delivered, moved them in. Hopefully everybody got a kick out of my video. And those boxes, they were not empty boxes. I was legit carrying those in. Ended up doing it myself just because I wanted to get it done and nobody was home. So 150 pounds a piece. Got them downstairs using the methodology that we pioneered, getting the Audio Device Revelation chairs downstairs, but it worked out good. Unboxing, pretty nice. I commend SVS on their packaging. The fact that the box had handles. Anytime you got a big box like that, having handles is a great bonus. So the unboxing video just went up Monday. Looking at it, I should have leaned into the goofiness of actually like getting down and pushing my way through there. Watching that back, it looked like I was giving birth to a subwoofer or something. Should have changed the camera angle and played that up or something. But pushing those things out really worked better with the leg power than the arm power. But I got them in. I did put the SVSs in the front. I could probably do a little screen share here. At least we can show some photos. play some videos. I know I've had some trouble in the last lives. Let me know. Are you guys seeing a black screen, or are you seeing a laptop screen share? I think these last couple times something's been going on with StreamYard or security, maybe. So there's give me a confirmation that that you folks are seeing the image that I'm sharing there. Actually, let me go ahead and go full screen on the app as well. Unless maybe that's part of the problem I was having with the screen share. But so yeah, these are in. Cool, screen share is up. So yeah, I put one of the SB16s in that front left corner. I put one of the SB16s in the front right corner. So they're both in the front. The Arndals are both in the back. Reran cables. I pulled all my curtains down, reran all my cables nice and clean. So this is some B-roll and stuff that'll be coming out. I got kind of a install vlog that'll go live on Friday, this coming Friday, kind of chronicling the whole process of it. I get a stop playback here. There we go. Again, kind of chronicling the whole process of it. So my son and I spent a good amount of time this past Saturday afternoon getting all this stuff in there. So I did a little demo. The only demoing I did, actually, it was before the 90 even came, and so I only could run 2 subwoofers. I just plugged the 2 SB16s in, and I did Ready Player One. This is with no arc, like, not, you know, I disabled arc because the AVM70 still had my prior arc measurement, and I of course didn't want to have that EQ being applied to a completely different subwoofer, one of which is in a completely different position of the room. So everything was just raw, but I cranked it up, did some Ready Player One, did some John Wick nightclub scene, some gunshot action and stuff like that. And there's definitely more of like that kind of rumbly presence to these. It was almost kind of more like what difference a little bit between the Harbottle and the Arndals as well, where there's just more of an overall bass element to it, whereas the Arndals strike me as like very quick, very fast. They're like bass ninjas. And so this, I don't know, is a different. It just had a different kind of experience. It almost makes me wonder too, if you're going to do 4 subwoofers, sometimes do you really want all the same, perhaps, or do you want maybe to mix and match some models, maybe different models, different brands, you know, have some different strengths and all that. So we'll see. SVS recommended putting the subwoofers that would have the overall higher output capability in the front. Essentially, put the ones that are stronger and can achieve higher volumes, right, cleanly further away, because by putting it closer, you're naturally getting a bit of a volume boost. You're getting more out of the output that the subwoofer could give. I'm just going to assume, I think, at least right now, hopefully I'll be able to move stuff around and test it for certain, of course, and I'll be able to share the measurements and all that stuff. My expectation is that the SB16s have the overall higher output versus the 1723 2Ss. But time will tell, and we'll see what even sticks around long term and what other options and stuff might come along. But I do know that probably after this, I will not want to go to less than 4 subwoofers in the room, whatever makes and models and brands and whatnot that they may be. And I'm all set up nicely now to have them, relatively speaking, in the 4 corners. I did have to kind of pull the Arndals a little further out from the corners based on some of the cable lengths behind the curtains and stuff like that. So I need to buy a couple more little power cables. It's in the vlog on Friday, but I picked up some like dual right angle power cords, which is really cool. So right angle on the plug side, so underneath the curtains, it doesn't like stick out and make the curtain like protrude. It's the curtain behind there is able to sit nice and flush, and then a right angle on the plug side going into the subwoofer lets you get it just that much a little bit closer into the wall on that. But I think I need some 3-foot power cords, particularly for this one here, the right back. 2-foot wasn't quite enough to get it. So yeah, they're all in. And I got this in the blog on Friday as well. I didn't actually get a good picture of this, but my son and I, we tied up all of the, I think this one will show it actually. We tied up all the cables for the Revelation chairs. And this is nice now. So there it is. I got this power strip, $15 power strip, just from Home Depot. Kind of got it Velcro down to the underbar of that's the middle chair right here. And then all the chairs plug into that one strip with its 8-foot cord, right angle connector on the wall as well, going in there. So everything's like tied up, Velcroed up, clean, and running under the back of the chair. So this worked out great. It was a rat's nest of wires for these last few weeks until it finally, again, was able to get down there and do this. So I don't have any real good solution for hiding this one lone power cord there to get over to the wall. But yeah, so be it if that's the worst of the installation. So this is what it looks like with the flaps down and Velcroed. So nice and clean, no floating power strip, no loose power cord wiring and all that stuff. It's all there. Just that one cable. So feeling pretty good about that. And then of course the 90 did come, delivered literally within days. So the subs were sent by SVS, and I don't know whether I'll be buying them or what exactly may happen with them in the long run. We'll see there. The 90 I did buy, bought it from Audio Advice, of course. They shipped it fundamentally immediately, just like the chairs, literally within a couple days of giving them the go ahead and paying for it. It was here. So I've got the unboxing, like kind of an unboxing first take video filmed for that. You can see how I was doing some comic book shopping. But there's the 90 in the rack, AVM 90, bottom left-hand corner. I should probably go down there. I was thinking to go down there and film like a short peeling the film off the face of the AVM 90 and put that up, just because the film peel of the LG is still the best performing video in the history of the channel. So hey, I might as well try to milk that. So I haven't done that yet, but I plugged in all the wires, everything just basically carried over. You almost can't tell the difference, of course, between these. They have effectively the same front panel minus the 70 versus the 90 badging. The back panel is almost the same, of course, just a couple of extra connections, because we've got connectivity for 4 subs instead of 2. But I got all that stuff wired in. Everything's running the same cable, my favorite cable, world's best Mogami 2549 wire. Everything is the Nutric Gold connectors. All that stuff is available on Amazon. Great cables. Those XLRs only go up to 50 feet, and 50 feet just got me to the back left subwoofer position. So I think I ended up with a 50-foot, 40-foot, a 15-foot, and a 6-foot to get to all 4 of the positions. But I reset up my triggering. I set up the Anthem menus and the basic configuration so that we could use it, because I'm still in this little bit of a goofy thing where I'm still running the living room speakers off of the theater amplifiers, and I use the zone 2 power of the 90 now, or the 70 before, just to trigger on the amplifiers for the living room so that the sound comes through them. I can't wait to get out of that configuration here, hopefully very soon. But I got all that basically set up. Of course, did the updates. I did not do beta updates. So if anybody either has or has been following Anthem firmware releases, it hasn't been the best run lately. The 2.3 firmware updates that were released in beta had some very serious, like, bass negation issues, audio performance issues, and I think some folks even had like some volume ramp problems. I think I noted that as it commented on either on ABS or the Anthem Facebook group and stuff. So I never upgraded to 2.3 on the 70, and given that the recent betas are having trouble and still haven't kind of been fully patched up and fixed, like, no, I'm not even touching betas. Betas on the 90, I'll just upgrade to the latest production firmware release, and then just leave it actually betas off and automatic updates off for now. Just let kind of Anthem catch up with their bugs and stuff like that. So again, it's wired, it's connected. I'm using it to trigger stuff. I use the living room a little bit, but I have not even yet been into the theater to listen to something through this, even raw, let alone getting down there to set up Arc Genesis and run the room EQ and the configuration and kind of all that stuff. So, but it'll be fun pretty soon. Either it's really been a really busy week. My daughter, just as the season's changing, we've had more soccer practices and some optional practices in the evenings this week doing that. Back to the office more days now. Not that I would be doing this stuff during the day when I was home anyway, but it's just a busier week here. A lot of soccer, more stuff going on, more time away and all that. But so hopefully this weekend, worst case, I'll be able to get down there and measure it because I definitely want to get a movie in on all this stuff and try it all out. So with some questions really quick here. Again, let me know what's on your mind. If you got some questions about this stuff, what I've experienced so far with any of it, feel free to ask, sound off in the comments and all that. And of course, it's YouTube if you'd like to leave a super sticker, a super chat or anything like that. By all means, feel free. I got to pay for all this stuff. Rob's saying, from what I've heard, Storm over Trinoff ? I think they're both really good. I think they have kind of some different, say, design and implementation DNA between them. But having had a Trinoff once and never having had a Storm, just personally, I would be more intrigued to demo a Storm again. But I would also be really intrigued to spend some time with Trinoff again. I think essentially from the beginning of the channel, when I had that really kind of short-lived opportunity to plug a Trinoff into my room, I think I've grown my own knowledge and experience and all of that quite a lot. And so being able to play with a Trinoff today would be a different experience than 2 years ago. So we'll see. Oh, Vincent, he has 2 Zappitis. Sorry, my friend. You have 2 bricks. 2 bricks. And we'll talk more about that coming up. Gopinath asking, sorry, I got a cough. Coughing and asthma stuff has actually been a whole lot better lately. Any reason for a choice of SB16 instead of PB16? So I opted to choose SB16 because I think fundamentally, well, one, I already had sealed subs. So already in the room was these 2 Arundel 1723 2Ss. And so I think generally in this hobby, you see a lot of recommendation and guidance of don't try to integrate ported and sealed subs in the same space. And so I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole of the extra effort and technical commitment and everything that it may take to be able to do that. If I go back, so that was an easy choice to go SB16 instead of PB16. If I go back to my original choice, like why did I even start sealed to begin with, perhaps, would be because I could have got the 1723 2Vs instead of the 1723 2Ss. And my challenge is size, particularly height. So if I go back to one of these views, you can see how the subwoofers, even almost as far over to the corner as I would get it, the subwoofers are inside my screen space by a good bit there. Of course, the masking panel is in, so you can see the bigger, right here, you can see the bigger piece of velvet, but the 240 screen width goes all the way to here, which is half or so. So a tall subwoofer would be impeding into the screen space, and I only have about 20-ish inches floor to the bottom or so of the screen. So the 1723 2Vs would have been very tall, considerably taller, if I recall correctly. I don't remember the spec, but I want to say on the order of like 4 to 6 inches taller than the 2Ss. So it's really a matter of size. I kind of just have a general technical preference to maybe say the virtues or the logistics of the sound profile and performance of a sealed sub as well. Even though technically speaking, this is a home theater application, pretty much solely a home theater application. So all in all, I think I'm pretty much on a pathway of being a sealed sub user, and then whatever other ones that I get through here would want to match in, unless or until I suppose I replace everything in one fell swoop with with 4 new models, and would give a new opportunity to switch to all ported. But I've got some other subs in mind, some other sub companies that I would very much like to make some contact with, and I'm planning to do that here in the interim, and we'll see what sticks around. Julia's saying, "Oh, yeah, I thought you bought the subs from SVS." No, the subs are here as like a demo review opportunity, so I have a period of time to hold on to them, experiment with them, and so on. And if I decide to keep them, there's an offer to do so. If I want to, just have it be a demo, then I'd end up packing them back up and shipping them on their way. But there's a pretty nice considerable amount of time to sit with them and spend some time. So it won't be a decision that I have to make anytime soon. So you two, someday one, welcome. Have you heard the NAD M17? M17. What do you think of it? I've drawn a blank on what is the M17. I think that's channel. No, it's the home theater receiver. So as of yet, I aside from a little bit of like being in the NAD room or whatever at Audio Device, I haven't had occasion to really demo or experience NAD equipment. I'm very, very eager and keen to. I like a lot about the brand, I guess. I like the way their stuff is made. I like the technical technical reviews and stuff that it's received. It generally measures very well. Audioholics has raved about their their time reviewing and measuring the NAD stuff. And so all I can say on NAD is stay tuned. That's a brand that I'm talking about behind the scenes very much lately, and perhaps in conjunction with the amplifier options and stuff. Again, I'm keen to try the Class D, but whether I just do the amps because that's what I have planned, or get a chance perhaps to experience some of their other stuff, we'll see. They also have from a 2-channel perspective, they've got the M66 coming, which looks really, really nice. 2-channel preamp and streamer, like kind of all in one. Is looking pretty sweet. So I'd imagine that they'll probably end up needing to make a successor to the M17 before long. Probably would be next in line after the 66. So who knows? We'll see what happens with NAD going forward. So let's see, what else can I say about this stuff that went in? So with the subwoofers, I did fire up the SVS app, worked pretty well. Connected immediately to the subs, no problem there. Turn them on, open the app, and identified them right away. Good configuration options and stuff in there. So, but again, everything's just running stock. So when I do my Anthem ARC config now, given again that everything's changed and everything needs to be rerun, the video that I put out last Friday was done largely. That was done a few weeks ago, actually. That remeasurement that was done with the 70, of course, with 2 subwoofers and the same equipment, with the main caveat of change being that the chairs are in the room now instead of the couch, and that kind of necessitated a rerun of all the measurements. And I also took the opportunity to tow all the speakers in a bit, kind of direct them more deliberately around that center seating area. So I've got that locked in. There was a lot of feedback in that video as well about like maybe doing multiple measurements and getting a little more involved with the ARC config. And I wasn't really intending to mess around too much with that specific application of ARC and that measurement, simply because I knew this other stuff was happening. Even when I did that, I just did that one very simple, very quick, very minimal in some ways, in case we ended up watching a movie in the interim before some of these other changes were made to the room. But when I go to do the 90 config, I'm really going to do that one in a much more concerted way. It's going to take a lot longer to do it as well. So I think I am going to end up doing 2 measurements. I'll do 1 measurement set that will be a tighter bubble around the main listening position, of course, main position, and then the ups and backs and the downs in front to do that 5-point, kind of really tighter in around that seat. And then I'll do one more broader measurement. I'm still a little mixed whether to do like 5 or 7 or 9 and only measure the middle 3 seats, or maybe measure all the way out as well. I'd actually really like to talk to maybe the folks at Anthem or whatnot and kind of see what their recommendations are. You know, you got one row, you got 5 seats. You could conceivably do a 9-point measurement where you still do the 5 around the main seat bubble, but then you do the main listening position. Oh, just hit the printer. Sorry for the noise. You do the main listening position of the 4 seats, right? 2 to each side. So 5 plus 4 is 9 positions. Or, you know, do you do 5 around the main seat? Do you do 7 and then you just do the listening seat of the seats that are directly to your left and right, and not worry about the ones that are so far out? Maybe even I do 3 measurements and experiment a little bit, since the capacity is there in the processor, right? You can do up to 4 measurements, and you can have up to 4 profiles, and it's so easy to just change between them and experiment. So I'm probably better off doing a bunch and just having the data uploaded and able to be used if I want to kind of tinker around and change it. But at a minimum, I'm planning to do 2, one solo, one group, and then we'll see exactly how wide the group one goes, or if I end up doing kind of like a medium group and a large group measurement as well. I probably will hit the limit of 4 profiles though, because if I use one profile for my solo use, and then I do one profile for kind of like family theater use, what I actually really want to do is have a triple, or maybe what I'll end up doing is this: is I'll elect one profile for the group family use of the room that uses all 4 subwoofers, and then in my solo profile, which is really the only time where I would probably be experimenting more, I want to have a profile for the interim, at least right now, set up where I've got all 4 subs enabled, where I have only the SVSs enabled, and one where I only have the Arendals enabled. And then that way, that gives me the ability to kind of on the fly switch between the different subwoofers. And granted, you know, they're in different positions, I know. So it's not a direct comparison of the SVS versus the Arendal with them being in the same location of the room. But I think it's still a little bit of, I think there's still value, let me put it that way, in being able to flip from one set to the other set and just getting a feel for like what the feel, what the presentation and all of that is of the power and presentation of those subwoofers. So that's what I'm planning to do with the profile. Maybe tinker around a little bit more as well with the boost and the tilts and stuff like that. But so information coming very soon. And when I get it going as well, I'll probably make some community posts, at least to share. Kitty's meowing there. At least to share the measurements of all these subs and put that information up for people to see in the community posts. Again, I'm really eager to learn kind of from this experience with the Arendals being a dual driver, dual smaller drivers versus the SVSs being a bigger single front firing driver. You know, does that make a difference? Does it not? Does it interact with the room differently because of the design choices, right? Or just the general design of the subwoofers? So I think that'll be fun. It'll be a fun tinker experience for sure. So one other thing that I bought for the room as well, part and parcel as we're talking about subwoofer power, one of the things that I've noticed in the room quite a lot actually is the idea that I hear rattles. Let me see if I have a good picture of this. I may not. Actually, this one is probably a good photo. And this is perfect. Actually, this is the one. So if you see this light right here, so in the theater, there's 9 recessed lights, and they're the same kind of we did recessed lights all over the house actually when we built it. For whatever reason, I don't know, we thought that was cool. We designed it that way. That's what we wanted to do. So they're kind of like the contractor grade new installation recessed light cans, right? They get put up in the floor joists before the drywall goes up. They drywall over them, and then they just cut the circles out. So that fixture stays in there. It's locked in, right? Locked into the joist, and then you just put a trim over it. Then you put a bulb in, and so the trims have these clips, these like tensioned metal clips that you just kind of squeeze them. You push them up in there into these grooves. You let them go, and they grab and snatch, and then you push the trim up, and it just essentially rests against the ceiling. So we had fixed metal trims all through the house that were white. And again, this room was originally designed to be a gym, not a theater. So we wanted a lot of light in there for working out and stuff. So we did in a 19 by 17 room. We did 9 recessed lights, a 3x3 grid. And when I redid the theater, I bought some different trims because I wanted black ones. First of all, I didn't want white ones, just so they would blend more in the black of the room. And I thought it would be cool to be able to have those trims be rotatable, movable, like basically on a bit of a gimbal. So these recessed light trims, and I'll make a video about this as well, particularly if the results accomplish what I'm hoping that they accomplish. But the trims are metal, and the bulb floats on this middle like gimbal piece that's pretty much loose. If you shake the light trim, the center gimbal piece, it moves. And so metal on metal, as it's vibrating with bass power, it's hitting, and that makes like a rattling noise. It happens from some trims, I notice, more than others. I think probably a lot of them are making rattling noises. It's just a matter of like they're making similar noise, so you tend to hear the emanation of the loudest one. And this is the worst offender right here. I hear it all the time. It takes me right out of the movie, right out of the content. It's one of those like annoying, nagging things that once you see it in your space, once you hear it in your space, you don't unhear it, you don't unsee it, and it bothers you to no end. So I didn't really realize until this past weekend when I got up there on a ladder and I was really looking at it and thinking critically. I figured maybe, okay, well we're getting all this stuff in, we're cleaning up the installation and all that. I'm like, I'll finally deal with this light rattle. I'll take a look at it and see what it might be. I figured that maybe I was going to use some blue tack or do something to kind of hold it there. And so I was playing some content. I forget what I actually chose. Might have been just during the John Wick scenes. Every one of those like really loud gunshots and stuff would send it shaking and send it shaking. And while I'm standing up there on a ladder, of course, I can see it. And then it occurred to me, it's like, oh, it's not just a matter of like bracing the trim, which is what I was originally thinking. It's the whole fixture. It's the way the fixture is made. There's no way I'm going to stop this center piece from shaking. And again, when it shakes, it's metal on metal, real fast banging. That's the buzziness, like the repeated little like light metal tinker slamming noise. So I figured, all right, well, I need a new light trim. I need a whole new light fixture. Who cares whether the light is actually aimable or whatever? The light can just shine right down. And so I wanted to try to keep this cheap, but fix the problem at the same time. So I went on Amazon and I started looking around for some other light options. And I was thinking, well, maybe it would be nice actually to have like more independently controllable bulbs, because as it is right now, we've got 9 fixtures in the room. I only enable 4 of them. I actually have the light bulbs in 5 of them unscrewed enough that the lights don't come on, the bulbs don't come on, but they just fill the fixture. The one above the projector, the one directly above the couch, and all 3 in the front are disabled, basically, because I don't have independent control to make a lighting scene and do some tweakier stuff. So I was debating if like, well, maybe there's some way to do this. From the light switch perspective, it's all one zone. It's all one lighting zone. So if I were to do something, I need smart bulbs, and I'd have to bring in some other wireless intelligence and connectivity, and there's like Philips Hue and different stuff. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to do all that. That's going to be like $600 or more. You're gonna have to program it all up. It's like I don't really want to do that. I just want to get a trim that is black, looks nice, ideally like a metal finish. Still has some bracing. That's going to be an all-in-one single enclosure, and it's not going to rattle. It's going to be dimmable, and it maybe has a little bit of configuration to it. And so that led me to these Satco LEDs, 9-watt LED or 65-watt bulb equivalent. It has a switch on it, so you can choose between 27K, 3000, or 2.7K, 3K, 3.5, 4, and 5K, right from warm white to daylight light. And they're like less than $20 a piece on Amazon. I bought an 8-pack for like $150, and then I had to buy one more single one. And so these are retrofit. So let me go back to this view, a little bit bigger of a camera view. So that's what I was talking about. So this tension things, if you've never done a recessed light trim, right? This tension piece, you squeeze it together, both of them actually, you squeeze them both, you put it up into the hole, and then these things just tension into a insert or whatever in the top of the thing. But it's an LED, so the transformer, the LED is in there, and it comes with this kind of retrofit adapter kit. So if all you have is if you wired the house, maybe if you're doing new construction right now, you probably would set up, you might set your transformers up, whatever, in the installation and whatnot. But of course, we did our house 10 years ago, really right at kind of the advent of LED lighting, LED bulbs being reasonably attainable, I would say. So it's got that connector, but then it comes with the little pigtail. So you plug this in on the one side, and then you screw that into the bulb socket in order to get the high voltage power, and then the high voltage to low voltage transformer is in the individual light. So there's the switch. So this isn't a smart light, right? You pick the color temperature that you want. I'll probably end up going the lowest color temperature, I think, for a theater light: warm white, yellowish light, soft light. And then, it's got, of course, the dispersion thing. There's just some LEDs inside there, and that's it. Foam backing. So this foam will hit up against the cutout of the opening, which will hopefully dampen any rattles. But, well, that's making noise because this is hitting right there. But once this is all up and installed, nothing, right? It's not making any noise. There's no moving pieces of metal on this thing that should shake and make any noise. So I hope it works. I'm going to get these in there pretty quick. Hopefully, I might have to get my tall ladder out of the garage. That always is a pain, carrying the big ladder downstairs, because it's an 11-foot ceiling, and I don't remember if I can get on the step ladder safely and reach the highest part of the ceiling to be able to change something like that. I might have to bring the big ladder down. But another thing that I want to get in and get done this weekend, and then really power up the bass and see, hopefully I can finally sit in there with some really big bass power and not hear that light rattle. When both Arundels were at the front of the room, we didn't generate enough bass power at the right frequency to make that light rattle. The Harbottle could. The Harbottle blew all kinds of stuff out in the space. I heard all kinds of things that I'd have to batten down the hatches when that thing was blowing. Since moving one of the Arundels to the back, which took out or gave some more bass presence in the mid bass region, which is probably what is making it resonate. The sub is out of that null, and I've been hearing it rattle with just the Arundels. And now having 4, certainly there would be more. There'd be more rattling overall. So in order to really enjoy the space, I think this is hopefully the one and only thing that I need to like button up and and kind of fix up in preparation of the new echelon of performance of the space. So anyway, a little long on that, but it's one of those things I'm very excited to go put these in, and I hope they perform. So one of the other failure modes about this could be it's a cheap LED light, and so it'll dim. Control 4 will control it. Control 4 will dim it. But when you get cheap LEDs, they don't dim very well. Sometimes the LEDs themselves can buzz and make noise. So I'm going to just cross my fingers and hope that whatever they got in there in terms of electronics and whatever is high enough quality that it doesn't buzz and it actually dims down to an appreciable level, because that's the other failure mode that you can get into with a, say, maybe inexpensive dimmable lighting option is a well-made light will dim through phases all the way down, to zero. It will have very definitive gradation from 0 up to 100. But a cheap bulb, as you dim down, maybe you get to 10% or 8% or something like that, and it doesn't have the fidelity to dim at that level anymore, and it just goes off. So it can only go so low before it can't. It just doesn't perform or differentiate. So we'll see. I'll probably just put one in at least to do that test, and then if it's good, go ahead and put them all in. So yeah, I can when I make the video, I'll put some links up if anybody's looking for stuff like this. Satco, hopefully it works. Again, less than $20 per fixture, and but black metal met all of my criterias and whatnot. We just gotta hope it performs in there. So a couple other comments. Welcome, Thomas Scott. Hello, and Julius. I think you'll upgrade your speakers to PerListen. I don't know. When I mentioned that there's a couple brands that I would like to make some contact with and have some conversation with, let's just say PerListen, maybe one of those brands. So I met those folks at Audio Advice. We had a great conversation. I talked to them about kind of being uniquely able to do more with architectural speakers because of my spaces and stuff. And so we will see. They make a heck of a subwoofer lineup as well as in walls. So lots of potential to do stuff with them coming up. But I got to reach out and talk to them, and we'll see where things go. For now, what's in there right now is what I'll be tinkering around with for a few weeks at least to come. So see where that goes. All right. So other big topic for tonight, just to kind of muse on a little bit, was the Zappiti news. So I didn't realize that this, because it's just really a product space that I hadn't checked on in earnest for some time, but I don't remember what it was. It was probably a few weeks ago, and I happened through the Zappiti thread on ABS forum, and there was even like some rumor mongering and some discussion that was kind of like being refuted a little bit about that they may be in some form of trouble. Some loose reference to that idea. But then, of course, the formal note came out Monday. It got shared all around that they're closing their doors. They made mention about them, wanting to try to make the devices functional in some way or retain functionality. But the note specifically talked about like the company being done, the company being liquidated. We'll see. As much as they might like to try to retain the device functionalities or the devices being able to do something, I wouldn't hold out a lot of hope for that, especially as a company gets wound down. The thought or the hope or the promise may not be as accomplishable in reality. So, I mean, worst case situation, people that are using Zappitis are not going to be able to have a path forward to continuing to use them if the NAS can't rip or can't be updated or managed effectively anymore. If the players can't fetch metadata or store the movie library with all the different cloud interface and access and stuff that the device did. So yeah, so Zappiti's out. Zdo still around, of course. Dune's still around. A lot of folks using software players like Plex and Infuse. So there's no shortage of options to go to. But there was a lot of interesting comments to the video that I made. My take on it, rather than just making another video kind of about the news or about alternatives, was I wanted to kind of build on what I've been talking about for the last year. As for some time ago, or that was at the end of last year, right? I kind of not necessarily re-entered the ripping scene, but kind of revisited it in some way because I wanted to make content about it and views on the idea of like setting up your own media servers and what does it really take, and how do you use the ripping tools and the pitfalls and the real pitfalls and logistics of it. And I think I feel kind of like uniquely qualified. I don't know if that's the right word, but because debating the source of content for my home theater enjoyment has been something that I've second guessed and gone back and forth on pretty much for quite a long time. I started ripping discs when I first realized it was possible back in like 2007. Back then, we're talking about like ripping at least just like even DVD, some old DVD cartoons and things like that, and playing them on my PlayStation 3, right? From a network share to a PS3 using some of the media player capability. And over the years, I've had a Zappiti, I've had Dunes, I had Western Digital, I think the WD players. I've used Plex, I've used Kodi. I had massive amount of effort into home theater PCs with Windows Media Center, like setting up all kinds of intricate presentation and stuff like that. I've jailbroken Oppos. I had a jailbroken 103 originally, and then a 203 in the 4K days. I still contend that, in my opinion, like the heyday of ripping your discs and local media playback was back in those days. Like, I don't think anything beat taking a disc and just ripping any DVD, right? Especially in the days before 4K. We're talking about Blu-rays and DVDs. Any DVD, hit one button, create an ISO file, and you have the entire contents of the disc. Put it on something like a nice big Synology NAS with a disk drive or two worth of parity protection, and then play that with an Oppo player, where an Oppo player would play that ISO file identically to the disk, like um, with no failure modes, no problems, no lack of support for anything, because you were talking about using a Blu-ray licensed, like official stack software device to play that rip. And I think that was the whole ripping scene, setting that stuff up and being able to access your content that way. I don't think it ever got it, despite the fact that it was metadata weak and metadata light. You could at least still put your movies into folders, and I like that part of it too, the whole DIY ripping thing. Like I like organizing my stuff. I'm sitting around me right now at my desk with all of my books and my things carefully organized. My background doesn't look like that, but that's everybody else in the family. My space is carefully curated and organized. So I like taking my media and putting it into folders and organizing stuff and putting series together and naming things, right? So the Oppo was metadata light, but you would still navigate your folder structure. You would navigate your collection. You'd play the disc. Back before 4K came along, you'd rip your Blu-rays. The Blu-ray would have the movie and all the special features. The menus would work, and everything like that was good. And so all these other players over the years have tried to chase that experience, right? And some have been more successful at it than others, but Zappiti, Zidu Dune, they try to play ISOs, they try to play menus, they try to play MKVs, and they all have their shortcomings as well. And I don't think anything ever did it again is rock solid, um, as those older Oppos did. But so, there was a couple comments that I came off like happy that Zappiti's gone, or like, oh, like I don't know, just like that kind of sentiment. And I want to say, like, I'm not happy, but I don't work there. It's not a product that I own. It's not a product that I've used for a lot of time. It doesn't necessarily I don't have much of an emotional response because I don't own one, and I don't, I'm not losing access to something that was important to what I had in my home theater setup and all that. In general, it's not cool to see companies go out of business, to see businesses fail, people, lose their jobs. I'm sure there's a bunch of developers and engineers there that are now we're doing cool stuff. Maybe, working on a product that they really liked, and now they've got to go find new jobs, and job market is a different place now. So, there's no sense of joy about any of that kind of stuff. But the reality is, if you decide to do a DIY ripped local media setup, you are accepting a litany of risk factors, that any of which could potentially, significantly impact or completely negate the ability for that approach to your content to be able to sustain itself. And so that was my thesis essentially in the video from Monday, and kind of raising awareness to the fact that having the players, losing the players is only one of like five major ways that whole ecosystem of sorts, can fall apart. You got to be able to get the discs, and if disc releases continue to diminish and be pulled back, you're not going to have the content to rip it to begin with. Copy protection, if it changes and it's non-decryptable, you're not ripping those discs anymore. The software tools have to be in place, and if the software tools go, you're out of luck there. You're storing those files. Your one copy of those files is on a mechanical hard drive, most likely, that has a life expectancy to it, moving parts that can fail. In RAID arrays, you lose the wrong uh, element of your RAID array, and you lose the whole array. It's gone. And all the data on that array goes with it. So RAID is not a backup. It's some level of protection, but it's not a backup. And then, of course, the players as well. And so the other thing that I was musing on, and I've seen conflicting information on this actually in different postings. So it's hearsay, but I know I don't know. Like, what is the reason that Zappiti went down? Right? Did Zappiti go down because of purely business reasons, right? Purely cash or business operational costs too high, revenue not enough to sustain the business, and they were in trouble from that perspective, or was there other pressure? Was there regulatory pressure? Was there some other factor afoot? They already had some of their products restricted, right, and pulled from the U.S. And so, like, and that wasn't that long ago. Why would they have done that? I would muse that they did that because of pressure, regulatory pressure, rights pressure, movie studios, whatever. So they were already in the sights of the forces of whatever, Hollywood content owners, studios, certain legal pressures and stuff that led to the NAS, probably being pulled for sale, and those forces might have sought to go further and go all the way. And so I've seen some folks mention in some postings that no, it was a cash thing, it was a business problem. But I've seen some other posts that surmise the opposite as well, that it was related to that pressure. And so that leaves me interested, again, not happy, not like, it's not a matter of that. I like the business aspect of this stuff, and it leaves me interested to see what's going to happen next, because I like I enjoy the business aspect of my hobbies. I've read this year. I read probably four different books on the business of the comic book industry, Marvel and DC, business and stuff like that. So I enjoy that kind of stuff. So um, when the business landscape is changing, to me, I find it interesting. And if those pressures, again, if they got Zappiti, who's to say they're not going to stop with Zappiti? So a lot of the folks out there that are like, okay, well, Zappiti's done. What's the next alternative? Get a Zdo. Well, how do you know that Zdo's not next, right? Or Dune, or Plex, or any of this stuff. So I don't know. is this the start of something, right? Or is it a one-off deal? And if it's a one-off deal, what made Zappiti special? Why did the forces that would seek to protect their content and whatever decide to go after them? Was it because they had the NAS? Maybe the NAS was their undoing. Maybe they shouldn't have released a product that gave you the ability to rip the content. Maybe they should have just stuck to the players and let people do the ripping and stuff on their own, and set up their own storage and all that stuff. So maybe they went a little too far. Maybe those forces then are placated and they'll stop. But I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we're on the cusp of a major shift in content, right? As physical media does its thing and the physical media market and business develops where it's going to go. And the streaming services kind of go through their evolutions, and other digital distribution and stuff is there. So the only thing that I really want is I just want to see it all happen. Like, I'm tired of waiting. Ultimately, I feel like content delivery and stuff has been in like a stasis mode for years now. I watch every year WWDC, Apple's show, like waiting. It's like, come on, guys, just announce, just do it. Just announce high bitrate streaming video, lossless streaming audio, and take it. Take the ball. Take the ball from everybody else and go home with it. And they don't do it. And then, if physical media is really going to diminish, and it's going to lead to hopefully bigger and better things with regards to digital delivery and stuff. Like, I just like to see it happen, versus like this slow, nebulous situation where I find myself kind of doing a little bit of everything ultimately. Right? I'm buying movies on Kaleidoscape. I'm buying movies on iTunes, and still ultimately feel inclined to rip the very occasional thing if it's a piece of content that's kind of been orphaned to history on physical media, or it's not available any other way. Like I mentioned, I mentioned in the video that I did about, I don't have a NAS loaded with content. I'm not putting content into it or whatever, but there certainly is stuff that I have that I want to be able to know that I have, and I could watch it if I wanted to. That's kind of lost to time. For me, it's like just really nerdy stuff, like the original 80s G.I. Joe cartoon, or Transformers for that matter. Like, you can't even buy Transformers. You can get season 1 on iTunes. You can't even buy the other couple seasons of 84 Transformers digitally. It's just a travesty. Like He-Man, Masters of the Universe, that went away for a long time. And I think some rights holder nebulousness or whatever, and then it came back along the way. So I look at iTunes all the time, like saying, please, like, let the stuff show up. Please let the stuff show up. So as soon as I see it, like the next time I see it, I'm buying it like immediately, because we've seen it come and go. There was a point where I think iTunes did have like those original cartoons, but then they went away and they haven't come back. And I think Hasbro cut some stupid deals with like Vimeo a long time ago. And God, I don't even know like where the digital rights for some of that stuff is. And I even have like the DVDs originally for a couple of like the Japanese Transformers series, right? So I'm sure everybody out there, sound off in the comments. Like if you've ripped some content and it's something like really, really edge case, really obscure, but it's important to you for some reason, right? And you can't really get it anywhere else. I'm curious. Put a note in the chat and let us know what it is. If you've got that on your server, you've ripped it, or you've got those discs and you're holding on to them, because otherwise that stuff is probably, it's probably lost to time, and it may not be released again. So there was like three Transformers cartoons that came out in Japan after the American 1980s cartoon. They never were aired over here, but Shout Factory got them. Actually, there was a long time ago where you could like import the discs and stuff like that. And they weren't even English subtitled and stuff, but just to have them, I actually imported imported those things. True story, way back in college, on like back when the internet was like chat boards and stuff. I spearheaded a thing where a bunch of us like Transformers fans paid, and we hired a translator to translate these cartoons so that we could have a transcript when we watched them. But eventually, Shout Factory did release them, and so I had those. And so I think those are probably, I think, long out of print. They're not actively purchasable or available anymore. But that stuff will never probably come to iTunes, or probably come to Crunchyroll, or come anywhere. So if I want to, if you want to watch some of that stuff, then you need to preserve it yourself. And that's the point too, where just having a disc maybe isn't enough, because what happens if something happens to that disc? You're gone. So it behooves you to actually want to rip it and have a protected copy, essentially, of it. But I walked that whole road, to the point where I needed to let it go, because I was putting too much time into it. There's a really great comment actually that talked about ripping is its own hobby. So the hobby of like ripping discs and setting up your media server is a hobby unto itself, that's different from actually watching movies. So there's a lot of it out there where people spend a lot of time doing the former, and they don't spend enough time doing the latter. And that was certainly the case for me. Kind of almost it can very easily become like almost a digital hoarding type of thing. And the time spent, there's a couple comments a little while back here. I'm kind of missing some of the comments now while I'm just musing out loud about, Michael saying the problem with ripping takes forever. Yeah. Hour to rip a disc, and processing time if you got to get your subtitles right and all that stuff. So I was spending a lot of time, too much time, just doing that stuff and not actually watching movies or doing something more meaningful with the limited amount of time that I had to do it. And I said, no, I need to stop this. Like this isn't a healthy expression of my hobby space anymore for me. So, and realizing all of those other kind of, I could call them truths, or say risks, future risk factors, that like this isn't going to be the way. Like in the long term, this is not going to be the way. Uh, forevermore, to want to manage content for the long term. So that's when I dumped that server off. I deleted that stuff. So basically sold all kinds of things off, and I bought the K, and I've been very happy with that. And I will admit, like at the end of last year, when I started to kind of go down that, revisit that stuff again, not really even go down that road. I don't want to say it like that. I started to revisit that stuff, that scene a little bit, to kind of see what was going on with it, what the state of the tools were and all that, in order to make some content and shed some light on things and talk about the process and maybe help some folks through it. I honestly debated, because again, the one thing that I really, really like about it is the hands-on organizational part. And I've told the Kaleidoscape folks, it's like, man, of all the things that I want to see done in the UI, is like more things that make my movie library feel like my collection, that I can curate and I can organize a bit, and I can set it up and group things and put some things together. I really like to see some of those features come to K, because that's the feeling of like having a collection and curating a collection. And that's one of the most fun aspects, I think, of the DIY stuff. And I thought about it for a hot minute. It's like, maybe I don't know, maybe the risk factors aren't so bad. But very, very quickly, I came to my same realization that like, no, I'll do this for the content, but this isn't something that I want to stick to. I'm going to stick to my future seer vision of kind of where things are going, and skate to where the puck is going, right? To do the Wayne Gretzky analogy, that this is, in the long run, this is not going to be it. And as much as people love Zappiti and stuff like that, people like the players. Inevitably, what I hear, and I talk to a lot of people, of course, through the channel and in back channels, and people contact me and ask questions, and so like I field the question a lot, which is like, especially for folks that are kind of getting started in the hobby space and they're debating stuff. I'm like, oh, should I rip my disc? Should I not rip my disc? What should I do? It's like, well, I just want to be honest. In my honest opinion, it's not financially driven or anything like that. But my honest opinion is I've walked the road, and I arrived at where I'm at for what I think are very good reasons. And so my recommendation to you is don't start down that road now. It's too fraught with these risk factors and these other pains. And unless you're just ripe with time as well, you've got more time available to you. Maybe it's a little bit older of a person that's coming into the hobby, they're retired or whatever, or somebody younger. But even still, like, man, there's got to be something more interesting and fulfilling that you can do than spending hours and hours and hours like ripping discs and processing discs and stuff like that. To the point where if like somebody was going the physical media route at this point, it's just like, man, just get a really nice high-end disc player, put the disc in and just play it. Do it that way, which in itself, I'll never forget the experience of like putting discs in player and like I don't know, that feedback feeling of like, man, that Oppo built like a tank and that tray coming out and you put the disc in there and you feel like you're watching a movie. I was around for the heyday of DVD. DVD launched when I was in college, like my junior year of undergrad. And I did everything I could with my co-op money and the money I was making to like scramble and buy probably what was an $800 DVD player at the time, and DivX was out and all that stuff. So my entry point to this home theater hobby really almost coincided with the advent of DVD. And so I've got that emotional response still to physical media. And I'll remember fondly just the feel of like putting the movie in. It's movie time. Boom. Let's eject that tray, put that movie in, watch it close and watch it load up, stuff like that. So I don't look down on physical media, and I don't take a negative stance toward it. The reality is we're at a different place in technology nowadays, and I'll always look fondly, back on some of that stuff in those ways. But I'm also quite happy with where things are at. And I don't know, Kaleidoscape makes using the theater just fresh and elegant and simple in ways that physical media, whether even you're using the disc or ripping it or whatever, it does things that the other solutions can't do. And so if you've got a system where it makes sense, you've got the means to make it possible, I can't give it anything but my highest recommendation, honestly. And if it's too expensive, right? We're down to 8,000. So that's one of the things I see a lot is like, oh, it takes like $12,000 to get into Kaleidoscape. Well, no, right now it's $8,000. $79.90 is the generally available price for a Strato C and now an 8 terabyte Terra Prime. So you're getting a bigger server, a bigger, better server for that money now than you could just 6 weeks ago. So $8,000 gets you in. Now there are promo prices. If anybody's thinking about it, that are set to expire at the end of October, which I think would raise that price another $1,000 up to 9,000. But the last time the promos were going to expire, they got refreshed or kind of extended. We are going into the holidays, so I have no information, and I'm not basing it on any privileged knowledge to say what they're doing or what they may or may not do. But hopefully there could be additional promos or something to come if somebody's shopping it. Or the other thing I'll say too, and hey, I'll plug it, right? If you're going to buy a Kaleidoscape, go to my friends at Audio Device. Get it there, go through my links. I would appreciate it. Yes, there's an affiliate share, and I get a kickback from that. Anything that you go buy on Audio Device, but that's a great company, and I spend my own money there. Call Ryan at Ascend AV and tell him that Techthusiasm, tell them that I referred you. And I've got other friends that I can refer to as well for the stuff. But I don't sell it. I don't intend to sell it. I just want it to be successful because I like it and I want it to thrive. So I'm selfish about wanting it to be good in that respect. But aside from that, go used. you can get a Strato S 6 or 12 terabyte player, the older unit, the combined one with the player and the storage all in one, for like $3,500. They pop up. They pop up on Kscape Owners Forum. You can buy them from dealers so you're buying them from somebody that already is a K authorized dealer. What they're probably selling is a customer that had that and liked it so much that they upgraded. They wanted to get a Strato C and more Tera. They wanted to get more space, so that they sold it back, or the dealer took it as a trade, and they're selling it. So you go to Kscape Owners Forum, $3,500, get yourself a Strato S. It's probably only a couple of years old. Probably has 2 to 3 years of warranty coverage still on it. And yeah, that's cheaper than a Zappiti NAS used to cost. That's the other thing about the price. Like, what did a Zappiti NAS run? $4-5 grand? And then you had to fill it up with drives. And then now Zappiti had players that were like $2,000. A NAS at $5, a player at $2, and a bunch of drives to fill it up. You've spent Kaleidoscape money. And full price, brand new Kaleidoscape money, not used Kaleidoscape money. And that's how I got my start. I bought my first Kaleidoscape on eBay. I paid $2,500 for a old 2U bigger Strato 6 terabyte player, not even the Strato S. And that's how I started, because at the time it was too expensive or whatnot for me to fully commit to buying a new one. And so I segued in that way. But I want to round out to one more thing, and then I want to shoot through some comments, is the idea that, again, I talk to a lot of folks. I want to try to give them my personal experience and my advice on the paths that I've been on and why I've arrived at certain things. And I've second guessed this a lot over the years, to the point where, like, one of my best friends that I talk about this stuff about a lot with, he's like, I'm sure he's tired of me over the years. Like, I think I'm going to switch back to doing this, and then I'm going to go back to the other thing, and like second guessing and second guessing and second guessing. But in addition to that, in talking with people that are doing this stuff, it always cracks me up where, like, people did the stuff, they had an NAS, whatever, they ripped their disk, they set things up, and whether that they have a ZDO, whether they have a Zappiti, whether they're using Plex, they'll talk about like how much they like it, but then they talk about like what a pain it is in the same conversations. Like, okay, yeah, it works great or whatever, except for the fact that, like, oh, like the Zappiti is really slow and it's kludgy, or it locks up, or it stops doing this, or and I've been at people's houses, checking out their systems or whatever, and watching like the ZDOs freeze up or something, fail out, and is the disk menu playback always going to really do all the right things with the menus on every disk? Or people love the Shield Plex combo, and I hear just as many people complain to me about instabilities and whatnot of that, right, as people purport it to be the second coming of awesomeness. So I don't know. Let's roll through some comments, I guess, here. So Vincent Tyler, physical media is dead. We'll see. Again, I don't think we're there yet, but I just wish it would happen. Whatever is going to happen with this stuff, Apple, man, come in and shut the whole thing down. Or if these companies are going to pull back on physical media, I wish they would just pull back, make the business decisions, make it done, so that like we can all, the industry, the business can settle into its next thing with full commitment, and let's get there, instead of kind of being in this more nebulous space that leaves me second guessing everything and buying movies in 3 different places. Oprah Winfrey, do you think Kscape will have a new player? Absolutely. I think Kaleidoscape will have a new player. We've seen the new Tera, right? The next generation Tera. The product line has, and I'm not saying this with any privileged information or leaking anything. This is just literally like common sense, I think. They just refreshed the Tera line with new processors, more memory, right? Better network connectivity, solid state drives, all these things. They only make 2 products. They make storage servers and they make players. So the storage servers have been refreshed. What's next? It's the players. The players are next. unless they really come out of left field and they introduce something completely different into the product lineup. But I don't, just speaking as an engineer, like I don't even know what that would be. So to me, it's like the players next, the new player, the next generation. Um, I just hope it comes sooner than later. And I think what they could do with it is a great many things that could make a great many people happy as well. So um, I don't expect to see that this year. Right, we're late. It's October. Cedia came and went, so we're not going to get anything more this year. So we're talking 2024. Hopefully, it's early 2024, not Cedia 2024. But all we can do is wait and see. Michael's saying recently upgraded his Sony Blu-ray player to a Zedo. Cool, 75-inch. Went from a 75-inch flat panel to a 120-inch screen from Nakamichi. Yeah, I just saw some things on those Nakamichi products. They looked pretty. The Dragon, yeah, they look pretty sweet. Yeah, you're stepping up there. Awesome. Yeah, problem with ripping. There you go. It takes forever. Yep. There's no getting around it. Ooh, Easy HT. Hey, welcome, my friend. Love to see folks coming in, having fun, hanging out. Vincent saying the NAS took Zappiti down. I think so. I don't think Zappiti went down. Again, this is not based on anything. This is my own hearsay, throwing my own rumor mongering into the mix. I can't believe it was just a business issue. I have to believe there was legal pressure and other things. And we'll see. We'll see what happens next. We're looking at Neil 12011, still rocking the Dune HD Max from 2010. Wow, awesome. Yeah, again, there was a heyday. There was a heyday of that stuff, and it was before 4K came along. 4K changed everything. 4K made everything more complex, the copy protections and the ability to rip things, and so I think the heyday of the media servers were back in the days of HD Blu-ray. Things were so much simpler back in the day. Let's see, looking for other comments here I want to touch on. Got new names, new folks, so welcome all the new folks. If you would, please hit the like button and all that. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for your support. Julius asking, did you sell your AVM 70 and your amps? So the AVM 70 sold. That sold right away. Actually, there was a lot of interest in that, and I put it up to sell, to say, hey, I'm open. I'll sell the STR or I'll sell the 70, perhaps, just being flexible, because like I said in one of the prior videos, there's virtues to either one. I could see myself keeping either one, and I would be happy going either way. But I had like 10, I don't even know what the count was, umpteen contacts to buy the AVM 70 and not a single contact to buy the SDR. So if that tells us that the folks out in the audience, right, are interested, or we're certainly more interested in the home theater application than the 2-channel application. But I confirmed a sale. It's still here, actually. It's in the box. The person paid for it. Everything's really all set to go. I factory reset it. It's all boxed up. It's ready to go. I asked to keep it for a couple more days through the weekend until the 90 came and I could put the 90 in, so that it didn't have a hole in the rack there. But I'll be shipping it out by the end of the week. The Parasounds have not sold, so put it out there. If anybody's interested, Parasound Halo A31 and 2 Parasound Halo A52 Pluses are all available. I talked to at least several people, probably about 10 or a dozen different folks, about them, different combinations of the amps. I thought one community member was actually going to buy all 3, and it would have been it was a perfect deal. Like, it was exactly what he needed. It would have let me sell all 3 things just to one person, easy. And it could have even have been picked up, didn't have to ship anything. And based on what that person was doing with their system, I had like invited him. It's like, yeah, come pick them up, and like I'll give you a demo. in the theater room and show you some stuff, because he was making some decisions and whatnot for his own room and all that. But he couldn't make it. He couldn't make the deal happen. He needed to wait and kind of do his stuff a little more slowly in some stages. Like, oh, that was like such a win-win opportunity, but unfortunately it didn't work out. And then I had a bunch of conversations, but essentially nobody's committed. So I thought the prices that I was offering were pretty good. I was lowering them as well. Not nigh on about $3,000 or under $3,000. And if people were interested in 2 or 3 amps, I was putting them together, discounting them pretty good. MSRP is over $4,000 on these amps now. Plus potentially shipping, plus tax and all that for a new purchase and whatnot. So I need to refresh the idea with some community posts and that the amps are still available. So worst case, I think I'm going to end up adding the 2-channel amp for the living room. That's what I need more than anything right now, is just one 2-channel amp, so that I can get the living room speakers off the Parasounds, get the living room zone in its own discrete system, and then I'm not under any hard impetus or driving force to sell the Parasounds. So I definitely don't need to fire sale them. Like this is not a need to have to sell. I'm doing it because I want to. I want to try something different. I want to be able to learn more and expand my own kind of knowledge and whatnot. So when they sell, they sell. But again, if anybody out there is interested, I'm ready and willing to make a good deal. And I would like to sell them, because I would like to get the other stuff, and I can't get the other stuff until I have some commitment to at least selling 1 or 2 of those Parasounds to start transitioning the theater, because the money from the sales will go into the fund to make the other purchases, unless somebody wants to drop a several $1,000 super chat, in which case feel free, and I'll order those amps up tomorrow. Edward Colbreath, awesome. So many new names. Welcome. Spoke to you about a week ago on getting Kaleidoscape. Got my hands on a demo today. Awesome. Getting closer. Yeah, welcome to the club. So my experience is that once people demo it, they want it even more. And then I've talked to a lot of people over time as well, where they're like, I'm gonna buy the K, and like I'll just use it for my new movies and segue in slow. And that's perfectly viable. Like, just because, and that's another thing too, right? Just because you add a Kaleidoscape to your system doesn't mean that the stuff on your server stops playing, that your discs all crack and break into shards, right? Your movie collection that you have to date still works. So you segue in slow. But the reality is that what I find what happens is that they end up liking it a lot, and they end up buying, the new stuff, then they end up buying like favorite stuff, and then they end up starting to like really build their collection and all that. So Edward, I don't remember if you were working with somebody as well, but again, to put it out there, if you buy from Audio Vice or buy from Ryan and those guys, I would certainly appreciate it. Rob saying, isn't the reason the PD are basically bricks is they're cloud-based and they're shutting down access to it? Yeah, so that's a big part of it. Again, the services part of Zappiti really impacts the long-term usability of the device. I don't know to what level Zdo is or is not service-based as well. So as a player, most of the general players, or like if you look at something like Plex or whatever, right, they're connecting to third-party database sources. I think Zappiti had some of their own metadata library and stuff that they were maintaining. So they might have, whereas like Zdo might, if they're pulling from like TMDB and other stuff like that, there's maybe a little bit of a risk factor and whatnot. But if the device can't access the information that it needs to add new content, curate content, pull metadata, and all that, then it doesn't work in an ongoing fashion anymore. But again, if Zappiti went because forces took them, I don't know who's to say that those forces won't be looking at other competitors as well. Sammy's saying, get ready to add an additional Strato C to another zone. Nice. Yeah, at some point, as well. I think there's definitely a future where I have a Strato for the living room and a Strato for the theater, but for right now, the Zone 2 switching sharing works pretty well. I'm probably inclined to wait to add another Strato until a next generation one comes along also. And that'll be like a double whammy that I can keep the one I have, and then add the new one and see what features the new ones might have and balance it out and stuff that way. We'll see. We'll see. Says I just don't have time to rip stuff. Yeah. Hour and a half it takes to rip a UHD. I can download 9 movies. Yep. And you don't have to wait for anything, right? So the thing I love about it, I'm going to pontificate some more, right? How many movies are there in the Kaleidoscape store? I think there's thousands, several thousand or whatnot. Maybe more than that, actually, umpteen thousand, perhaps. Obviously, nominally, you're $25 away, but on a digital platform like that, you have instantaneous. The store is your library. Let me put it that way. The store is at any given moment, the store is effectively your library because you're only 10 minutes and $25 away from watching anything. If it's physical media, right, or anything that's offered in the store, if it's physical media, you're not anything close to that, perhaps, right, to be able to have that type of response for what may or may not be in your collection. You have to buy the discs. You have to buy it from somewhere. You've got to go to the store. It's got to ship to you. Is it in stock? Maybe it's out of stock, right? Certain movies are out of print and they're expensive on a secondary market. You can buy the Atmos version of Gravity for $17 on Kaleidoscape any evening that you care to watch it, versus trying to track down the Diamond Lux disc, whatever, for much more than that. So it adds an efficiency to all that stuff. YouTube just cut your live with a commercial. Yeah, actually, I was curious if folks are seeing that. So I am not making that happen actively. They actually have given people tools to force ads and insert ads into live streams and stuff. But a lot of the advertising or ad placement and ad tools of YouTube are evolving a little bit. So you may see things as a viewer of YouTube, you may see that start to change a little bit as you're watching content, lives and non-lives and stuff, because there's even some more change afoot in terms of like how things will work with ad placements and stuff coming up. So it is feasible tonight, I guess, that you're seeing you may get cut to a commercial in the stream here. So I try to be pretty conservative with my ad placements in my videos and stuff like that, in terms of the ones that I place. But it's the way of YouTube and all this stuff. Oprah Winfrey, hope the new player has Dolby Vision. Yep, let me just say that they're well aware of that request. We'll see what happens. Michael saying, I need a killer machine with high-end graphics cards. Yeah, to rip UHD Blu-rays in 30. I don't know the graphics card would help that at all. Really, there's nothing in the GPU power is really about involved with ripping. It's disk read and seek times and stuff like that. So you need like a 32x or 64x readable drive that's on like a USB-C connection to an SSD. That's what would change that in some significant way. Supernova Moore, welcome. You're late. I said we might only go an hour, so we're at an hour and 30, and I'm still talking. That's the way it is. We're having fun. We got a big old group here. I'm way behind in comments, but let me jump ahead. Julius, thank you so much. $5 super sticker, not a chat attached to that. Always very much appreciated. I thank everybody for what they do in terms of their support. It's very much because of this channel and everything going on around it that I got that 90, that I got those SVS subs down there. So the more, and that's a matter of like having saved up channel revenue for a while to pull that purchase out and and whatnot. So as the channel grows, I can do more. The more I can do, the more the channel will grow. It's the fun. Yeah, I said I like business. I like business things and trying stuff out and all that. So to me, it's a fun part of this whole endeavor. Neil saying still use a 400 disc Blu-ray changer using Control 4 for the cover art and video distribution. Cool. I never did buy anything like that back in the day, so to speak. I considered it more than a couple times, like building up changers. Essentially, right, the changer was what we had to have more of that ready to play experience before we got to ripping. But I never did end up with a big. I never did get a big disc changer. Michael's saying, yeah, if you're a baller shot caller, you can afford Kaleidoscape and Crestron and all that stuff. Yeah, for convenience. And that's what it is. I mean, honestly, nobody needs any of this stuff. It's for fun. It's the luxury purchase, the pinnacle purchase. But they're the pinnacle devices of our hobby, right? There's levels to this stuff, and AV and home theater can be enjoyed at all kinds of different levels. And again, like I said, I don't look down on anything else, physical media, other solutions, inexpensive systems. I think if you're enjoying home theater and you got something that works for you and you like it, man, stick with it. Stick with it and use it. Changing stuff just costs us money, and aspiring, too much can make us spend more on this stuff than we may rightfully need to. So it's all do what's right for you and stay within your means. Don't borrow money for any of this stuff. But when you get into the higher echelon, the elegance, the convenience, those aspects, I mean, they're nice. They're nice. They're fun. Dallas Boland, welcome. Have you ever been interested in 3D? I was for a split second, but never very interested. No, I think I've seen one movie in 3D. It was one of the Star Wars. This last trilogy. I don't remember which one it was. We drove to the east side of Detroit to one of the Dolby cinemas, one of the only Dolby cinemas in the area to see it. And we actually bought the 3D tickets on accident. I didn't want them. We bought it on accident. And I've never really liked it, honestly. I think I've told this story before, but it wasn't our first 4K TV. I think it was way back to earlier on when we first moved into this house, in the living room right behind me, through this cubby, right where I've got my living room TV set up. The first TV we had in here was an 80-inch Vizio M series, and that was a 3D TV. And it came with everything you needed to use the 3D. Of course, I was using discs at the time. And we were watching Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the second Captain America. My wife and I sitting on the couch in there watching it in 3D. And we were watching the intro scene, Cap's infiltrating the ship that Batroc and the guys have taken over. And I'm a Cap fan. I got the books. I got the books, the goods right here. I like Captain America quite a lot. But we're watching that scene, and it's all like the quick, close in, fighting, fast camera cut kind of stuff, and it was making me sick. And I turned to my wife and I'm like, "Are you enjoying this?" And she's like, "No, I'm not at all." And I'm like, "All right." We took the glasses off, put them back in the box, never took them out again. So that was it for me for 3D. And I've never done it, never bothered with it in any projection setups. Technically, I could do it in the setup now. Of course, the JVCs, you buy the emitter, you buy some glasses, we could do 3D down there. I've got no real interest in it. It doesn't work for me. But I'm also not a big one for like intense visual experiences like that, like VR things, not really interested. I can't ride carnival rides and whatever. I don't even like to ride. I don't even like to be a passenger in a car most of the time. Bodie's saying, joining super late. You probably already spoke about it. Decide what you're doing. So just real quick, the 70 sold, the 90s in, the 70 sold. It's reset and packed up, and ready to go to its new owner, the probably Friday or next couple days or so here. And the Parasounds are still available though. So if anybody's looking for some Parasound Halo amps, I've got them, and I would like to sell them. Michael saying, yeah, 400 disc changer, 2005. Got it with my Crestron. Yep. I definitely wanted to. I wanted a big changer. I definitely jonesed after that purchase, but it never made sense for me to do that. Michael saying, yeah, Shane, yeah, Shane's been running both. So like the streamer companies, the streamer boxes have the ZDs, the PDs, like they had good relationships with a lot of the a lot of other YouTube folks that were reviewing products and so on. Tech Chana has gotten gear, so that they were pretty liberal sending stuff out to folks. And yeah, he was running. Shane was running both. I don't know what he's planning to do. If he's just going to jettison the Zappiti setup, keep it, wait and see what happens. We'll see. If I get back on a stream with him, it would be an interesting topic to chat about. Yeah, and I still have content on my server. It's that type of content that I want to know that I have access to. Who knows, maybe in this lifetime I may never watch some of that stuff again, but I like to know that I have it there. I tried to share some of it with my kids and it didn't fly. Sometimes nostalgia is better than the reality of revisiting it. But when I go to play that stuff, I don't need the level of like what a Zappiti player was providing. I just use Infuse, and the Apple TV works good. Works good for me. Oh, this is an interesting comment. Crestron was the biggest, most expensive mistake of my life. I'd love to hear more about that. Love to hear more about that. Automation is one of those things that it sounds so cool, and then the reality of it is like it's far more limited than in the reality. It can be disappointing. Neil mentioned, a good Control 4 dealer here. Yeah, I'm in with Control 4. We did a lot of Control 4 in the house when we built it. It's kind of built into the DNA of our home. And I don't even know what it would take if we decided that we didn't want it anymore. And we wanted to change out of it. But there's aspects of it that I really like, and there's aspects of it that I could also do without, or fail us at times. The streaming music stuff is like one of the most unreliable things I've ever had in a system. And if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do any of it. I would just put a Apple HomePod in the kitchen. That's all we need. And a HomePod in a couple other places around the house. And so I don't know. I will see what the future of that holds. But so Mark T asking, what happens when K goes bust? What happens to your library? So always the question, or a very, very common question around the K ecosystem. So the answer to this is, of course, we don't know for certain. We can muse on what could happen. What we know is that the system, the hardware doesn't phone home to enable playback of a movie. So even if you had a K player, you had a K server with a whole bunch of movies loaded on it, you unplug your Ethernet cord and you can play your content forever more. So what you have downloaded, right, stays resident, stays accessible until or unless that hardware itself dies and the data is lost, or you don't have a player dies, you don't have a player to play it. So a lot of people say that is like that's the solution for if K goes out of business, that's like a saving grace. To me, that's inconsequential. Like if a platform like that went down, it's not the value. The value of continuing to play some of the stuff that I bought in it pales in comparison to what am I going to do for the next movie coming out next week that I want to watch. Right at that point, the platform is dead. The hardware is bricks, and the system is defunct. So I don't consider the fact that existing movies will continue to play to be much of a value. I also exist in Kaleidoscape in a situation where I've got like 1,400 movies in my library, and I can only store 200 local. So I don't even have my whole library local. If I lost K, the smaller collection of content that I have local would not placate my movie library sensibility. So I would be looking for another solution, which would be iTunes ultimately. Um, so there's that element to it. Of course, if they go down, the hardware is bricks. It's gonna like rocket to virtually nothing in terms of monetary value, regardless of how expensive it was originally. So that would be a bummer. Um, and then you could say, with some hope, that like when a digital storefront shuts down, um, there's a 3-point relationship in a digital purchase, right? Which is the content holder of the rights, the store that sold the thing to you, and you as the owner, as the purchaser of that content. So I buy Captain America. I bought it from Disney. K brokered that sale, right? K's the middleman. If K as the middleman goes down, you could surmise that like Disney still has a little bit of a relationship to me, to say that I bought a digital access to this thing, and just because the middle entity went down, there's still a bit of a commitment there. So let's consider the option that if K goes down, maybe they broker a transfer right, that all these movies that you own transfer to iTunes, or they transfer to Vudu, right? You merge your accounts and something like that. That happens. We've seen that happen before with other digital movie storefronts. So again, I'm not saying this with any insider knowledge or anything. I'm kind of musing on what could be reasonably feasible based on what we know and what we've seen happen before, when other digital storefronts goes down. So that's kind of the three. What would happen? That's kind of the three-step thing that I would see happening. You could continue to play movies that you've downloaded. Your hardware is a worthless brick, and ideally, the stuff that you've bought, the digital right to the stuff that you bought would go somewhere else, and that would be it. Let's see. Michael saying some talk about the remotes. Oh, wait, certain ripping software can take advantage of cores from Intel. Is that for ripping though? That's encoding. So there's might be more of a specificity there, that if you're gonna rip and re-encode your stuff, then actually, yeah, absolutely, you can use GPU cores and other stuff like that to accelerate those processes. But the active ripping or remuxing, unless I'm wrong, I'm thinking of the tools that I know. I don't think that they're system accelerated in some way, but the ones that re-encode certainly are. Mark T. asking, are the SVS subs any good for movies and lounge room environment? So I can't say much about how I feel the SVSs perform yet. I've got the SB16s down there now. If anybody else wants to weigh in, feel free. But stay tuned for my opinion and take on the performance of the SVSs. This is a great comment. Like, any business can go bust for any reason, right? We just enjoy the ride. So that's absolutely true. Every business in the world has business, has risk. Everything we do in life has risk. It cracks me up as well when like people I'm trying to find this article that I had. Yeah, here it is. Some people, what the right word is, if it's like, call them the pundits or whatever, the naysayers, the people are like, oh, like I never buy Kaleidoscape. They almost went out of business. Well, yeah, they had a stumble several years ago with a company with completely different management, leadership, products at the time, and so on and so forth. But any business, big or small, has risks. But earlier in the week, I'm gonna bury the lead probably on a future video. So if you see anybody else make this video, know that they copied my sentiment. But I went looking online. It's like what other businesses of note have almost failed, right? And so I found this article. It's actually from 2018, just by kind of Googling around. It was on a webpage called Let's Reach Success, 8 giant companies that nearly failed. And so the other one that I know of course, is Apple, right? Apple, um, in the mid to late 90s, Apple almost folded. So when folks say like, "Oh, I won't buy a Kaleidoscope," they almost went out of business. Well, it's like, do you use an iPhone? Apple almost went out of business. Better go get another phone, right? Or go get a Windows PC. Get rid of your Mac, because you wouldn't want to use that. But this is an interesting list. FedEx, um, and I'll quote here. We know FedEx. Shipping with them is no gamble, which is ironic because at one time the whole company's existence could well have come down to a card game. Um, Founder Frederick Smith built up an impressive business. He was struggling to come up with payments to keep it going. He used the last $5,000 to play cards in Vegas. He won 27 grand, enough to cover the company's expenses, long enough to raise capital to keep things moving. And yeah, FedEx is still here today. Pretty wild. So Apple, Marvel, Delta, Nintendo, Netflix. Yeah, Netflix almost died a long time ago. Lego and Ford. So I guess if you don't want to buy a Kaleidoscope because they almost went out of business, don't ship with FedEx. Get rid of your Macs and iPhones. Don't enjoy Marvel superheroes. Don't fly Delta. Don't play Nintendo. Cancel your Netflix subscription. Don't let your kids play Lego. And don't buy a Ford. Yeah, just looking for some other comments. We'll probably start winding down here soon. Michael's talking about his prior installs. He spent $170,000 on. Wow, geez, what did you install? Yeah, Crestron. It's one of when I was considering options for automation here 10 years ago. Control 4 was an easy pick in terms of its price and scale. Um, Most of that expensive stuff was for switches. Yeah, it's amazing like how much money has been spent in video distribution in the past. Um, like some of that stuff a long time ago it used to cost a lot. Matrix switchers and all that sort of stuff. Oliver, thanks for the cue. Yeah, folks specifically want to get a question in as we wind it down here. I appreciate. I should have mentioned that earlier. Throw the queue. It makes it easier to pick out, especially when there's a lot of conversation in the chat. And of course, if you want to attach a super thanks or a super sticker to that, I won't complain. I'll be very thankful. Feel free. But Mr. C. Oliver Parker, welcome. Can you move the content from Kaleidoscape to your own hard drive and use on your own system? You cannot. So Kaleidoscape is a closed ecosystem. A big part of what Kaleidoscapes is, their business is having like negotiated the relationship with the movie studios, the content holders, and all that to be able to offer that content in their store the way they do, digitally distributed at the level of quality that they do. And so that comes with a lot of assurance of security and a lot of security technology and stuff like that built in. So there's no latitude to take content off of a Kaleidoscape system, and it's been asked for many times over the years. People are like, "Oh, I'd love it if I could just buy a Kaleidoscape player, but have it put the movie files on my own Synology. It'd be a lot cheaper, right? The storage would be a lot cheaper than the Kaleidoscape storage, but no, it's a closed ecosystem. So you buy in the ecosystem, and content is managed, downloaded, and whatnot in the ecosystem. Yes, and that's why I have a problem with any of those kinds of system. An Apple user, but I don't buy anything from iTunes. Yeah, I mean it's just, and that's fair. Like some people are not on board for digital ownership. I'm okay with it. To me, like just honestly, like I'm comfortable with digital ownership. I find the virtues of it in terms of convenience, accessibility, generally speaking, cost, um, not having to store and manage and keep so many things around. So I like those virtues, and I'm prepared to take the risk factors and whatever that come with it. But not everybody is. And that's it's fair. There's no right or wrong opinion to that. It's kind of like to each their own. But video games, I haven't bought a physical video game since sometime in the early Xbox 360-ish generation. As soon as video games went digital storefronts, I bought my games digital. So many more conveniences of digital video games than physical ones. Movies, of course, covered that pretty well. Music, we don't own, well, I can't say we own a single CD. There have been a couple of instances where over the years, kids things and whatever, we bought some CDs. But like as for music listening, nominally speaking, my wife and I, we don't have any type of physical music collection. We're Apple Music subscribers through Apple One and use that almost exclusively. I have thought about doing the vinyl just for kind of the fun of it, but I don't have a good setup to be able to do it. We'll see how that evolves maybe in a year or two, but that would be just a novelty if I were to do it. Books, well, actually, I'll get to books in a minute. What else is there? Music, movies, TV shows, content, stuff like that, of course, digital, video games, and then books and stuff. So I do books both ways. I got my Kindle. I see the book I'm reading right now. A book about the business of making the Batman movies, Batman franchise movies. I'm that much of a nerd. So I've got a big Kindle library. I read a lot of comic books digitally, but I buy comic books more to collect the history of it, to have these old issues and things versus reading them, given the fact that it's encapsulated in a piece of plastic and graded. I have been, but we buy a decent amount of books. On the other side of that wall where that opening is a floor to ceiling, wall to wall bookcase. There's actually two sections. This entire wall of our living room is floor to ceiling bookcases. And I buy increasingly have like gone back to the idea of like buying and reading comic books in the omnibus format, right? So this is the original Batman, 1939 onward stories, and I'm surrounded. Right now, I'm relegated to having all this stuff in my desk space because the bookcases have the kids' stuff on them. But someday I'll move my stuff in there again as well. But that's the only thing that I'm really into physically buying. But I get that some folks don't trust it or aren't ready to kind of make that change quite yet. Ooh, another friend, super friend of the channel, TKK. Man, we still got to get on stream together. Maybe next week. Let's get it going. Hangout stream. We were going to celebrate. I was trying to propose to him that we both hit 10K around the same time. Like, man, let's do a 10K celebration stream. And I had to defer, and he had a busy week, and man, time just goes by. But I can't wait. You got to hit me up the next time you are in Michigan. The next time you come over here, the theater is going to be a whole new deal with the new gear that's in there. So if you're coming out for holidays or whatever, something towards the end of the year, this year, let's hang out. Let's see. Any other last comments and thoughts? Mark T, great podcast. Thank you. Very informative. Thank you. It's been a fun one. Great turnout. Great conversation. Interesting topics. Interesting happenings around the space of our hobby in general, of course. And it's always more fun when I got a lot of stuff going on personally with all this as well. Yeah, Michael Walker just ripped the Batman movies. Yeah, I'm a superhero geek. I got my kids all into between playing Marvel Champions, the card game. If you like Marvel stuff, Marvel Champions has really been really fun. My son and I have gotten big into that, and it's nice to do something as well that's not on a screen. We do enough entertainment and other things on screens. Um, we've had a lot of fun with that, and then Marvel Snap, which is on a screen, playing a lot of that. But we've been I got him all into Marvel. So here's the big guns. Yeah, this is a book. This is a tome. It's not a book. This is a tome. This is from a company called Taschen. They've released 4 of these, the original 1960s Marvel stuff. So my son and I have read Avengers, Fantastic Four. We're reading X-Men right now. And my daughter, I've got her into Spider-Man. So I've cemented the next generation of superhero fans. But I started them on Marvel, and nobody's interested in considering DC stuff. Like, you guys want to read some Batman? Nah, I want to read Marvel stuff. All right, that's it for comments. I'll make one more call. We'll be at 2 hours. My voice is starting to get a little raw. I'll be back to the office again tomorrow. So, oh, good readers. Oh my God, dude, we have to like punish reading in our household, because everybody in our household is a reader, and it's like, put the book away and do your schoolwork or whatever. Like we literally like hit the limit of the library. Yes, your local library probably has a quantity limit, and like in triple digits, and we've hit it with simultaneous loans. They devour books. I love it. But my wife and I have been lifelong reading fans, I guess. So yeah, they'll be good in that aspect of life for sure. All right, so this week, if you missed them, Monday I had this SVS SB16 unboxing video, and then of course some musings on the loss of Zappiti. Friday's video is a vlog, all about the install fun from this past weekend, showing how, running the cable for the subwoofers and why I was putting subwoofers in certain positions, getting everything hooked up, and showing. I took a bunch of the curtains down. You get to see a little bit of the interior infrastructure, I guess maybe is a better word, of the theater room. So that vlog's come in. Hopefully that's a fun one. I haven't done that kind of a video in a while, probably going back more than a year, when I did like the home theater 2.0 rebuild. I like that kind of content. I like making that kind of content. I think it's fun. Hopefully it's very useful to folks that are doing projects, and you can take away or learn from things that I've done that are decent, things that I've done that were mistakes, or I should have done better. And I like talking about the little stuff too, like those power cords, right? Really useful little thing to have a double 90-degree power cable for a piece of equipment. So that's coming. I already got the ABM 90 unbox, first take, showcase. That's filmed. I got to edit that, and then from there, getting into the calibration. I would consider doing the 90 cal on a stream, like live. I'd be curious if anybody would be interested in that. The only problem with that is I feel like it could take a long time, and it might get a little boring to do it live. But on the other hand, there might be some virtues and stuff to doing it. But it will also be like sitting there, because I don't want to be outside the room talking a bunch while it's running measurements. We'll just all be sitting there silent together while the test tones go. So that might not be the best. Might not be the best thing, but rest assured there'll be content about it. And again, I want to get more advanced with the ARC setup in this next configuration, and then I can't wait to get it all balanced in for subwoofers, the AVM 90, fire up a movie, and hopefully I'm not building it up too much in my mind that it will be like that much better that I end up, disappointed or overselling it in some way. But I'm sure it'll be great. And I know some other folks were kind of admittingly waiting in the comments, like, I'm curious to get your take on the 90, because I almost waiting to buy one, or I was thinking about buying one, or I almost bought one. And to me, it's like, if you got the means right? Man, I don't know how you do better than an AVM 90 for the price point. If you're going to go better, you're going all the way to Storm or Trinoff. You're spending 2x or more the money to get up there. But if your room isn't like super complex, I don't know. I think the AVM 90 is like a pinnacle. It can be an end game device for many of us, for most of us, and so and is with most of these things as well. The other thing that I'll counsel is every time that I've ever um, had a choice between two things, even if that other thing is like a little more expensive or whatever, but it was still attainable. If you get the one that's less, every time you go to use it, you're going to doubt it. You're not going to have the same experience. Um, right? You're not going to have just like the peace of mind that I got that one. It's the pinnacle, and I know I've got the best one, and I'm happy with that. Versus like if you can buy the 90 and you talk yourself out of opting for the 70, you're probably just going to buy a 90 later anyway, because the draw of that, if any of us are all, share the same mentalities in this hobby, the draw of that will get you there. And I've done that a bunch of times where I'm like, I'll buy one model less or one something less. And it's like, nah, I should have just waited. Even if I had to wait a little longer to pull the money together or whatever, even in this hobby or whatever too. Like 9.8 is like pretty much a perfect comic book. And there's a couple issues that I've already bought where it's like, I bought the 9.6 and it's like, I probably should have just waited and got the 9.8, waited for an opportunity to get the 9.8. So, and I've seen enough other takes on the 70 or on the 90 itself. There you go, right here. Edward, he did it. He thinks it's better. So I've seen that take enough times that like I just feel confident about the whole thing. And it's just to say go buy it, and be done with it. And it's the same idea even with like Kaleidoscape. Like, you don't necessarily spend all that money on Kaleidoscape because it's better video quality and stuff. But when you buy a Kaleidoscape, you have the highest quality content delivery that you can reasonably obtain or really obtain in the home, right? So it's the peace of mind of it. And if you can do it, do it. Don't step back from it. You'll be happier for it. So that's the sage advice that I would give to the folks in the comments, regardless of what I have to say about it. Let alone some of the mechanical differences as well, which is like if you've got a reasonably sized room, home theater space, and you're really leaning into to building up your home theater system over a long enough period of time or whatever, you're probably going to end up with 4 subwoofers. So the 90 enables that as well properly, instead of chaining them. So if you can do it, just do it, and go get it from Audio Advice. Support Techthusiasm. All right, I think we will call it here. This is a fun one. Man, 2 hours. I gotta get some more water and chill a little bit before bedtime and another day of work. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Thanks so much, Julius, for the super chat, super sticker. I really appreciate it very, very much. And yeah, we'll be back with more. See what's coming up. Collaborations with some other folks coming up. More conversations with other brands. We'll get this room all balanced and set up. Hopefully, dig into a movie sooner than later and comment on all that stuff. So, thanks so much, everybody. Goodbye. Good night. And thanks for watching. Come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.